This is the first episode.
Yeah.
What should the intro be?
I don't know, I think it could be kind of natural. Like, I've just started recording both of us right now, so...
Oh,
we're already going.
Okay.
We're going.
Okay. Fuck. I do wonder... Okay, first of all,
yes.
I do wonder whoever's listening to this, whether it's in 2025 or 10 years from now in 2035, I hope you're doing good.
Yeah.
I hope you're prospering. I hope you're healthy. I hope the world ain't more fucked up. Well, it probably is. But I hope shit's still around.
I hope the ability to listen to this is still around.
Yes. And not a fucking post-apocalyptic world where everyone's just savages and eating each other.
We just watched The Road last night, for context. It's
But
some real happy movies we've seen lately.
oh, that was so depressing. So depressing. I had to switch to the news to lighten it up.
Shit about AI girlfriends afterwards.
Which is another thing. We need to watch her.
Absolutely. Fantastic movie.
But this is basically a movie podcast. Are we going to be reviewing new movies? No, we are not.
Not revealing.
No, we are definitely not doing that. We do not want any smoke. We do not want to talk shit. Okay, there's probably going to be some shit movies we're gonna watch. But we mean it respectfully.
Well, for the most part.
I mean it respectfully.
I can't promise respect at all times, but everything I say will come from a place of constructive criticism.
But that's the thing, Max. You need to understand. Making movies is hard.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I genuinely believe that.
Yeah.
And so if you do see someone try to make a movie, I mean, there are times when I've seen a movie and I've gone, oh God, why did you make this? But I try to keep that positive mindset of, this was hard. They tried. They failed. Maybe, you know.
That's the thing about movies, is that so much of the problems can come down to a few people. It can come down to a director or the writing or producers or whatever. But so many people work so hard on these movies.
Yeah.
And on TV shows that it's not fair for the whole thing to get shit for...
But do you know what I don't like?
Yeah?
I don't like how it's the actors, sometimes the writers, depending on who they are, the directors who only get the shine.
That's true.
There's so many people who work on a film set. Like, everyone just sort of needs the love. And obviously that's why you have the credits. But I think for us, we sit through the credits because we recognize that. Whereas for a lot of people, as soon as the credits show up, we're out. Unless, you know, it's a Marvel film and, you know, there's a post-credit scene that you have to watch in order to keep up with the next one. But today's first film, which is Max's choice.
Hello. 1999's Magnolia.
Hold on. Before we even get into that, I just realized we haven't even introduced ourselves.
Sure.
Okay. So, I'm Tawana Dingenbira.
I'm Max Jackson.
If you're hearing these voices, I hope we're still alive at whatever point you're listening to us.
Yeah.
I hope we're prospering. Oh, God. Should we reveal anything about us? I don't want to.
Nah.
No, we don't need to. It's not necessary. You don't need to know anything about us. We're not that special. We're not any different from you guys. We're just a couple of dudes just talking about movies.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what the podcast should be called.
Couple of dudes talking about movies?
Yeah.
I think we might need to workshop that a little bit.
Okay. But I think we're on the right line.
Okay.
But at the moment, the podcast will be called... We'll call this podcast later.
Yeah.
Because until the universe hits us with the right name, we'll just swing by. So, going back to the first film, Magnolia.
Yes, 1999's Magnolia, directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, his third feature film. Previously directed Hard 8 and then Boogie Nights.
Hard 8.
Movies I do want to talk about at some point.
Okay.
Love them.
Because I was thinking about Hard 8 as I was watching this. Because Philip Baker Hall is in that with John C. Reilly as well. Yeah, carry on.
Yeah, I just finished rewatching it a few hours ago because I watched part of it last night and it is goddamn long.
Oh god,
I
yeah.
gotta do this later. It's 3 hours and 8 minutes long, including credits. It's about 3 hours and a couple minutes without the credits, which is long. I didn't think about that when I said we should do this one the first time.
But what I will say, it keeps the pace.
Yes, so many movies are very, very long, and I don't think they should be that long. Lots of movies have a lot of dead air time, shots that last too long, that create a sort of interesting mood where you're sitting with the characters for a long time, but sometimes it's just long. This movie is long and dense, and every moment of its runtime is used effectively, and there's hardly a still moment throughout it.
It requires you to give your full attention, which I really appreciate. Because when we were watching, what was the first film we watched last night?
Love Lies Bleeding.
Which you didn't see the beginning of.
No, I just saw it was off the rails.
And the beginning, I was sort of that, which I hate when I watch movies, which is getting distracted by the phone at the beginning. Because there was nothing really sort of happening, and I was like, okay, I get it. But as soon as Dave Frank, you didn't see it.
I didn't see Dave.
This is sort of like, it's not really a spoiler, but Dave Frank was having sex with the other one. Not
Which? Kristen Stewart's girlfriend.
Yes.
Oh,
Jackie.
Interesting.
They're having sex, and that's the first time. Up until that point, which is probably the first 15, it really didn't have my attention. But once it grabs you, because that was the first time I was like, oh, that's different. I wasn't expecting that. But Magnolia from the get-go, the story of is it 3 different strangers?
Yes. It opens with 3 different stories about coincidences. The first one is 3 men with the last names Green, Berry, and Hill rob a pharmacy owned by a man who lives at the corner of Greenberry and Hill.
Which, it's funny because at a certain point during the film, I was starting to think about how they're all connected. And for some characters, I was like, oh, I can't find the connection. And up until towards the end, and we'll get there.
Yeah.
When John C. Reilly and William H. Macy meet, then you're like, oh, that's the full connection with everybody. Now they're all connected. Which, do you ever think about that in life? Like coincidences? Like you might have been at a school or a place and someone else was there when you were there, but you never met. But then years later, you do meet. And then suddenly it's like atoms in space, just like missing each other just by, and then suddenly in a moment, they smash towards one another. And impact is created. I find that so fucking fascinating.
It's beautiful. It's the word sonder means the clarity you have when you realize that everyone else is living a life as rich and as experienced and as chaotic as your own. Everyone else around you is feeling all the stuff that you're feeling.
Oh, yeah.
All those connections, all those balls bouncing around.
Which we can go into a whole different discussion with that. But let's stay on Magnolia.
Magnolia. So what was I saying? It was goddamn long. I picked this movie because as the first one to talk about for whatever this is, Magnolia is my favorite movie.
Really?
I've now seen it 4, maybe 5 times. the answer to what is your favorite movie is such an impossible thing to come up with a real good answer for.
I hate that.
Sometimes it'll be Magnolia. Sometimes I'm thinking like, oh, it's The Mummy or it's Jurassic Park because I think those are perfect movies. Sometimes there's a few other ones that I've gone through the years, but Magnolia I always come back to. I think this is my favorite movie. It works on me like no other movie does. I saw it at a point in my life when I was ready for movies, if that makes sense. There's those various points as you're growing up, if you like movies and if you're into movies, where suddenly something clicks and something unlocks and you just understand something in a whole new way about film and the medium. I was 15, maybe 16 when I saw this.
15, interesting.
Yeah.
Because I would say the equivalent for that for me is probably Taxi Driver.
Interesting.
And I was probably 16
Yeah.
when I watched it, where something just suddenly, I think watching De Niro and the possibility of like a film where you're just following one character, but it's so captivating. It's so rich. That was where I went, oh shit, this can be different. Maybe it was the acting aspect. Like,
Sure.
I mean, I consider that performance to be one of the greatest performances ever in film. But yeah, Magnolia. I love it. I do love it. But as with a lot of films that I love, it's not a film that I can sort of go back to regularly.
Sure.
I think the last time I saw it was probably when you first showed it to me.
Yeah.
That was the last time I saw it.
And was that the first time you saw it too?
Yes.
Okay.
So that was the first. So this was my second time watching it. And, oh, God. It's one of those films where there's so many themes within it. And I don't really want to go through it in chronological order. I think it's probably better if we just talk about the film in general.
Sure.
And then we just hit different parts. But it's one of those films where maybe it's the relationships that you see, like Tom Cruise with his dad. That hits home for me.
It's
amazing. I get it, stereotypical black guys, father issues, Yeah, I get it, but it hits home for me because it's different for you, but for me, I sometimes think about that. Like,
Yeah.
if I found out that my dad was dying, how would I react? Mm-hmm. Which is quite interesting because I think Tom Cruise had that sort of relationship with his dad. From what I've seen online, I don't even know if it's true.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Because I've read somewhere about him calling his dad a bully, and he passed away in the 80s. And I just wonder if, especially throughout that film, Tom Cruise, and I'm excited for Tom Cruise to be going back to movies. He's been doing movies. Going back to something other than Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
Because I think we deserve it.
He's a phenomenal actor.
Underrated.
He's... we don't need to attract the heat of the Scientologists in the first episode. All of Tom Cruise's personal things
By the way, I would join if I had someone join me. I just want to put that out there. I would join if someone else joined. Someone else doesn't even need to join with me. I just want the Tom Cruise...
you want that treatment?
I want the Tom Cruise package. That's the only way I join.
Sure. It seems pretty great in some ways. All of that stuff aside, Tom Cruise, he really is a great actor. People think of him as just the action guy, the do his own stunts guy.
He's much more than that.
Yeah.
You think Tropic Thunder, he's hilarious. Valkyrie, he's so fucking good in that.
Yeah.
Like, we do have evidence of him doing other things other than action. And I think hopefully, because his next film is with Alejandro Inarritu.
Yeah.
That's his next film.
Interesting.
So, and no one knows what that's going to be. So it'll be interesting to see him do something else. Or is the thing of he's Tom Cruise, you can only see him in Mission Impossible? Is that?
He's polished his brand so much since Magnolia came out, so over the last 20 years, that it will be interesting to see how he changes that brand, because he's polished it to this perfect action machine.
But he's in a different phase now. He's in his 60s.
Yeah.
Can't continue being the action guy in your 60s. As Arnold Schwarzenegger knows. You know? You have to sort of pivot in a different way, and it'll be interesting to see what that pivot's going to be, because he doesn't have an Oscar, does he?
No, he was nominated for Magnolia. I believe that was his first Oscar nomination.
Oh, wow. And he deserves it.
He did not win that year, but
the nomination, it's an extremely good performance.
So his character, Tom Cruise, for anyone who hasn't seen... Watch the movie. Why are you listening to this if you haven't seen the movie?
Yeah,
watch the movie.
Watch the film. We want you to know what we're talking about.
Yeah, because we're not going to be doing detailed summary and stuff. Frank T.J. Mackey, the self-help, the game men's rights guru, whatever, he and his father, Big Earl Partridge, who's dying of cancer, and it's his father's dying wish to find his son so we can talk to him. And Jason Robards plays the father, his character throughout. He's stuck in a bed the entire time. He speaks mostly in broken sentences, but some of the things he says are the most beautiful, heartbreaking things I've ever heard in a movie.
That scene when he's just breathing, and you can see Tom is just like, he's waiting for his father to say his last words to him, but they never come out. Nothing comes out. And when it's scenes like that where I go, fuck, that's a different kind of pain. When you really think about it, like to witness that, to sort of go through with that. And I don't know how much death you've been exposed to, Max.
Not a lot personally. I think about it a lot.
I think about it a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe sometimes I think about my own death. I think about the deaths of the people around me. And, like, constantly. But it's one things I always think about is, like, how am I going to react when the time comes? Because it is going to come. It's just how do you react, and you never sort of know. So for me, it was really, especially Philip Baker Hall's character,
Jimmy Gator.
Which, if you say it like that, it kind of sounds like a porn star.
A little bit.
Jimmy Gator.
Trivia thing, the name Jimmy Gator is mentioned in Hard 8. Samuel L. Jackson talking to Philip Baker Hall, saying, "Hey, didn't you know someone out in back east or wherever?" And he references a couple names, one of them being Jimmy Gator and one of them being another one that I don't remember. But so this is a little self-reference that PTA threw in there.
Oh wow. Yeah. Okay. So is there a sort of link between those first three movies?
Not in any real story way, aside from a few names that are reused.
Okay.
Some of the cast members are in all of them, and I think the themes are pretty similar throughout Hard 8, Boogie Nights, and Magnolia. I think that's just something PTA was fascinated with back then in that early part of his career. The sort of random coincidence, but then also feeling like you owe the universe what it's giving you.
Yeah. It's like that thing that they say in the film, like, you can run from the past, but the past isn't done with you.
And the book says, you may be through with the past, but the past ain't through with you. And that gets repeated 3 times throughout at various points.
Which is so fucking true.
Yeah.
So fucking true. You sort of have to face it. And it's... this with all the characters, there's this sense of loneliness and regret, these themes that are throughout the film. And I've found it so... When did it come out? 1999?
99.
We're in 2025. The themes are still so resonant. Probably even more so now. And so it's almost like when we're watching the whole thing with the AI boyfriends and girlfriends, is that there's a loneliness epidemic happening within people. And then within that, like the William H. Macy, former child actor in the film.
Quiz Kid Donnie Smith.
Quiz Kid Donnie Smith.
Love, towards the beginning when he crashes his car into the 7-Eleven, it's just like his life absolutely sucks. But then someone walks up to him to see what's happened, and the guy looks in the car and immediately goes, "Hey, it's Quiz Kid Donnie Smith."
That is absolutely... how tragic is that? Like, everyone knows you, they think you've got money, they think your life's sorted out, but your life's absolutely terrible. Which, unfortunately, is sort of like the truth for this industry, especially for child actors. Because at a certain point, you start to ask yourself, oh, where's such and such? I hope they're okay. Like, what do you do after you've been a child actor?
Depends. Sometimes your parents steal all your money and you fall into drugs. Sometimes you go through that and come out the other side all right. Sometimes you stop altogether.
I don't know about you, but I really felt as if when I was watching that, I was like, damn, I feel so sorry for child actors. Like, I would never want my child to be a child actor or be involved in this world. At all at that age. They just need to be, I say isolated, but insulated away from the bullshit.
I think there's definitely a wrong way, and if you're gonna do it, you need to do it some sort of the right way. I was not involved in Hollywood or anything as a kid, but I was around.
Yes, you're a child actor.
I technically am a child actor. It was, regional theater, small scale. So the community was there. Everyone I was working with, my parents also knew, and so it was very sort of...
Did anyone touch you?
No, God, no.
Be honest, mate.
No.
It's a safe space.
No.
You don't want to say their names?
No one touched me. Okay. God damn it.
Okay. You're the one who said the other day you want to go to therapy because you got some shit to take.
Oh, that's other shit. It's not that shit. It's plenty of other shit. No molestation, no. Unlike Claudia in Magnolia.
Oh, shit. Oh, shit.
Yeah.
That scene when his wife is asking him, what did you do?
Yeah. Why does Claudia hate you? And he says, I don't remember. She thinks I might have molested her. And his wife, Rose, asks, did you? And Jimmy Gator says, I don't remember. I don't know. She says, you do, but you can't say it. And she's leaving. She's... This is just after he's admitted that he's cheated on her for years, and he's dying in front of her.
Again, watch the film, because these are all spoilers for if you haven't seen the film. But we highly recommend the film.
Jimmy Gator, the game show host, the alcoholic, the guy with cancer in his bones, and he's just at the end of his life, and he's questioning everything that he has done. I love the lines. Rose is leaving the house, and he seems defeated. He's just holding on to anything.
Yeah.
He says, if I said that I knew, if I did, would you stay? And she says, no. And he says, but I don't know what I've done. And she just says, you should know better. Brutal.
Fathers, man. Let's talk about this, because I think... I mean, I could be wrong, but from the outside looking in, I feel like you have a great relationship with your father.
I do. I think I do.
For the rest of us who don't, it's a little bit of a therapy session, because if you don't, this film will get to you. This film will touch a few soul spots, and I think it's. I really. I think about that sometimes. Like, if I have kids, what type of father I want to be for them. Like, just being present. And then how to sort of raise them up to be the best version of themselves, to impart lessons that I've learned back onto them, and then hopefully they'll grow and they'll make their own mistakes, but they'll pass on those lessons and yada yada yada. But watching this film, it's really the fathers, man. Oh, the fathers are pieces of shit. There's not maybe Philip Seymour Hoffman.
He's not a father in this movie.
He's not, but if there was a sequel and it was just his character years later, I think he would be a good father.
He's by far the best person in the movie.
Yeah.
He
gives a great performance, by the way.
Yeah. And it's so... Philip Seymour Hoffman was in Paul Thomas Anderson's other movies. He's in the one he did after this, Punch Drunk Love, which is also... I love that movie. And in Magnolia, Phil Hoffman plays a character named Phil. The nurse looking over dying Big Earl Partridge. And he's just the sweetest guy. He's just trying his best, and he's so caring about this old asshole in front of him. And when Julianne Moore comes in and sees him talking on the phone trying to find Frank Mackey, and Julianne Moore slaps him and hangs the phone up, and he just takes it because he understands what she's going through.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Julianne Moore in a minute too, but yeah.
When I was watching his performance, one of the things I sort of realized was that for the most part, I will watch things, and like Civil War the other day, and I was like, I could be a war photographer. Yeah, I think I've got a few wars in me, but I don't think I could do the stay-at-home nurse.
Hospice care type stuff.
Yeah, hospice care.
Yeah.
Because it was just one day. The shit he was seeing in just that one day was so fucking tragic. I couldn't do it. I think if I had that sort of day, I'm retiring. Because seeing Big Earl die and Tom Cruise have to witness that and him absolutely break down because they've been estranged for so many years, and he achieves his objective. He finds the son, brings him over just in time, because even though they don't really talk, they still have that connection just before he dies. So even though it's tragic that he never says any words in his last breath, he still does have a bit of life just before he goes. And it was just God, talking about it, what a fucking film to start off with. Because now I feel depressed.
So you said that the other day. This movie's depressing to you?
It's depressing in the sense of how many people have cancer.
In the movie, it's just Philip Baker Hall and Jason Robards.
Big Earl.
Big Earl and Jimmy Gator.
Julianne Moore tries to commit suicide.
Yes, she overdoses and nearly dies before.
William H. Macy's life is just shit.
It's just so sad.
I've got love to give too.
Oh God, his monologues. I wrote down so many quotes from this. At one point, when he's in the bar and he's having the sort of head-to-head with the rival, who's flashing money in front of the bartender, Brad with the braces. But he asks this basically romantic rival of his, who doesn't even think of him that way, who's just sort of dismissive of him. He's getting drunk and he asks, "Do you have love in your heart?" And the guy says back to him, "I have love all over. I even have love for you, friend." And then Donnie, William H. Macy says, "Is it real love, the kind that makes you feel that intangible joy in the pit of your stomach like a bucket of acid and nerves running around, making you hurt and happy and all over your head over heels? I have love, I'm telling you, I have love. My name is Donnie Smith, and I have lots of love to give."
Man. And I think, specifically for Donnie, I think it's important to mention that he was a child star, quiz star, on the same show that Philip Baker Hall's character hosts.
Yep.
His parents took all his money, so he's got no money in his adult life. He was hit by lightning, so he's technically, I don't want to say the word, but he's slow.
I'm not sure about that.
I don't necessarily think he says himself that he's not. He's not great.
He does keep saying that he's not. He used to be smart and now he's not smart, and he keeps calling himself stupid all the time. Though I think a lot of that is more just about his attitude, because he's got this terribly warped attitude about himself. Like he thinks he needs to get braces to impress Brad the bartender. And I love when he's talking with Alfred Molina. Alfred Molina's in this movie for just a few minutes, but he's so good. And he's just
whole cast.
Yeah, the cast isn't. He's talking with Alfred Molina, and he says, this is the worst time to fire me. I have my surgery, my oral surgery. I'm going to get braces. And Alfred Molina's like, what are you talking about? And his assistant guy's just like, no need for braces, Donnie. Donnie, no need for braces. You look great.
Oh, man. But that's what I mean. It's like, he's such a tragic character. And then, even though he's gotten the braces, his teeth get smashed in because he falls to the pavement.
His own hubris. There's a point in this movie. Okay, all these different plot threads are all mingling along and escalating, and they're building to this incredible tension. And where is it? At one point, oh God, where is it? I'm gonna edit this part.
Here you go. I have love to give too.
I have love to give, and then at the end he says, "I have so much love to give, I just don't know where to put it." As he's standing there with his mouth bleeding and his teeth broken and surrounded by dead frogs. Okay, here it is. Yeah, after Big Earl is going through this incredible monologue, which I'll read a snippet of, but it's right before the third act of the movie starts, and he's given this incredible monologue about life, and it's cutting between all the different characters. Then it goes, he's talking about his wife and how he abandoned his wife when she got sick, and he abandoned his son, and then he goes into it. But the love was stronger than anything you could think of. The goddamn regret. And it cuts between them. It cuts to Jimmy. Now I'll die. And I'll tell you what the biggest regret of my life. I let my love go. What did I do? I'm 65 years old and I'm ashamed. The fucking regret, the guilt, these things. Don't let anyone say to you, you shouldn't regret anything. Don't let them do that. And he keeps going. And he says, love, as he's croaking and dying. This fucking life, it's so fucking hard. It's so long. Life ain't short. It's long, God damn it. Oh, god damn. And as this is happening, it's Donnie getting ready to break in. It's Julianne Moore overdosing in the car. And it ends with him saying, what did I do? What did I do? What did I do? Phil, help me. What did I do? And as all this is happening, Philip Seymour Hoffman gives Big Earl Partridge the morphine that's going to ease his pain but send him into oblivion. Wise Up starts playing. I'll get to that moment later too, because the soundtrack is amazing.
Amy Mann, man.
Amy Mann is... This movie introduced me to Amy Mann. She's one of my favorite artists. She's a genius. And after Wise Up finishes, we cut to a rainy LA street as the bus stops light up, because it's a certain point at night. And the bus stops read Exodus 8:2, which... I looked this up. This is the verse where God is saying to the Pharaoh, if you refuse to let them go, I will send a plague of frogs. And
Nice catch.
it was just for a moment. I was like, wait a minute, what did that say?
Took you a fourth watch to catch that on.
Yeah. There's so many of these little details. This movie is so dense. I think that everyone in this movie, it's about, like that line, the past staying through with you. People are holding on to these things, and there's certain things that they can't let go of that are holding them all back, that are holding them in this self-created misery. And in a weird way, I don't think this movie is saying that the universe has a story in mind for us, or that there's a God that it's controlling things and sending you signs. But when the frogs fall from the sky, it's a catharsis for everyone, because whatever they're doing suddenly gets interrupted and they have to think about the important things. Jimmy's about to commit suicide, frogs stop him. Rose is trying to get to Claudia when the things start falling. Julianne Moore's in an ambulance that swerves and falls on its side. And Donnie's trying... He's broken into the store where he works. He's driven away, and he said, "What the fuck am I doing?" And he does a U-turn to go back. Yeah. But he's broken his key off because he's a sad sack idiot. And he's climbing the ladder to get on in the roof, and the frog hits him in the face, and he falls to the ground. His own hubris trying to steal what he thinks he needs, and then trying to return it. And now he does need the brace. I've been talking for too long.
No. Because it's funny how things switch. Mm-hmm. He didn't need the braces at the beginning, but at the end, now he does. Mm-hmm. And I find it goes back to the thing of, do we have free will, or is it all simulation? Simulation theory. Which I personally believe it's a simulation. Like, everything's happening the way it's planned out.
How do you mean simulation? Like,
as in, it's going to play out how it's supposed to play out. We don't know how, because we're in real time. But whenever I've thought about the past and looked at how things played out, I've always looked at it as, oh shit, yeah, that happened because of that and that and that. In the moment, I couldn't tell. But you meet someone, and then, years later, they'll put up this idea or this opportunity, which leads to this thing, which leads you to this situation, which leads to... And it just sort of happens in this way that you cannot foresee in the moment, but when you look back... It's something that Steve Jobs actually said at his commencement speech, was you can never connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect the dots looking back. Which I think proves value to the simulation theory. Like, it's all going to happen the way it's meant to happen. When I think about that in terms of personal, I hope it's a good ending. That's all I can hope for. Because it could easily be a tragic ending. You look at Philip Baker Hall's character, and on the surface, especially at the beginning, he's got the Emmys, he's got the #1 show, everyone loves him. But he's got a tragic personal life.
I think he might be the most pathetic character in the movie. And I don't mean that, like, in a judgmental way, just his life is broken.
It is. And we haven't even touched, but the child contestant, the child genius.
Stanley.
He just wants to go and take a piss.
He just needs to use the bathroom.
That's all he wants to do. They won't even let him do that.
No.
Won't even let him do that. And the saddest moment towards the end, when he goes to his father who's sleeping, and he goes, Dad, you need to treat me better. I'm like, yeah, he does. He does. Otherwise you're going to end up as William H. Macy. Because that could be your future. It could be. It's not guaranteed, but it could be. Because when you see those other two kids and you see how so entitled they are.
Oh, they're little shits. They're just the worst.
and they're riding off coattails of Stanley, and you just go, fuck these kids, man. They're not even smart enough to be on this show. They're only doing it for the endorsements, the money, which, unfortunately, once you put it up to certain people, that's all they think about. But Stanley was actually fucking smart. He was reading books all the fucking time.
He's just curious. He loves learning things about the world.
And they capitalized that and used him and continued to use him until he was broken. And I think there's a lot of pimps. A lot of pimps in this film. A lot of pimps. The way they treat other people for their own personal gain.
Yeah.
Which, let's go back to Tom Cruise's character because...
yeah, that's his whole MO. Oh, his introduction scene. When this is off Spokes Zarathustra from 2001. And it's just this insane cult leader entrance that he makes. And he goes into his insane rants about...
I just want to...
Respect the cock.
Yep. And tame the cunt. Which, I'm with it. I'm with the mess. No. I like the sentiment.
What?
The delivery isn't great.
What sentiment exactly?
No. Because
Because tame the cunt is hard to...
no. Okay, this is what I mean. Okay. I like the sentiment. I like what he's trying. He's trying to empower these guys. Okay?
Yes. He's trying to give them confidence. He's trying to help them turn their lives around, just in the worst way possible.
But in what other way can you see in today's age with all these people who cling on to a group of men that don't really have that much social interaction with the other sex? That sounded so scientific. I don't know why I said it like that.
No, but yeah, that's fair.
No, it's true. But it's this thing where they're all looking for confidence, and where are you going to get that confidence from? From a charismatic guy who seems like he's got his shit together. And to his credit, he sticks to it for the most part. Up until the end when, his life completely gets flipped during that interview. And he finds out that his dad is dying. He tries to maintain it.
He's built this facade of a person that he hides behind, but which I think is true of a lot of... I mean, like, Andrew Tate is just saying exactly what Tom Cruise is saying this whole time. It's just Tom Cruise is doing it pre-social media.
Yeah.
But I think it's exactly the same, essentially, which, God, this movie really rings true, even 25 years later. He's built up this whole facade of a person to project to the world and to hide behind. But it's all built on lies, and it's all built on his own fears and insecurities. And as the interviewer...
Okay, I'm going to stop you.
Okay.
I'm going to stop you. Because once you find out his background, like, his dad left him and his mom. He had to look after his mom who had cancer. You kind of understand why he became the person who he is in that moment. And then he becomes a tragic character afterwards. Because everything he's doing is, like you said, based on his own insecurities. But it's really... when I look at adults now...
Yeah.
I look at them as the kid they were.
Yeah.
And I sometimes think about, like, oh, that kid is in so much pain. And some people that you meet, you see this construction that they've created to protect that kid. And some people somehow manage to heal that kid and, they live healthy lives, hopefully. But for the most part, it's a construction you create to protect that kid. Now, I'm not mad at it that Tom Cruise's character ended up... What's his name?
Frank T.J. Mackey.
Frank T.J. Mackey.
Which is a fake name. I can't remember what his real original name is. It might be Jack Partridge, but he's changed his name because he doesn't want to be associated with his dad at all. So he's taken his, it's like his mother's father's name and his mother's maiden name.
Damn. But I'm not mad at it. I'm not. I understand it. I understand why he became the way he is. I feel sorry for him. Like, throughout the film, I was just feeling so sorry for him. And it was one of those... it is one of those things where you do see the Andrew Tates of this world and people gravitate towards them. Is that there is the mask that they put on, and what's behind the mask is always the most interesting thing. And I don't want anyone listening to this and start to go... Oh, these guys are talking shit about Andrew Tate. We not talking shit about.
I'll talk shit about Andrew Tate.
Okay.
I'll take that heat.
I don't want no smoke from Top G. Top G.
I think Andrew Tate is a truly pathetic person. Like, a truly pathetic... I understand possibly why he is the way he is, but then he also, sex traffics women and things.
Okay.
He's a real piece of shit.
Allegedly.
He's a real piece of shit, just demonstrably.
Allegedly.
By the things he says, I think he can say he's a real piece of shit.
It's the same thing with all of them, which is they're trying to help a group of men. Whether with the intentions are pure or not, it doesn't matter. They're trying to help a group of men. And that's the thing that I think is more crucial. Going back to what's happening today.
Yeah, it's an outlet for feelings that so many people don't know what to do with. It does, I think, maybe temporarily give people a bit of security, but, transferring all your feelings of loneliness and frustration at the world, which is probably more prevalent than ever right now, just because of how the internet's made us see everything. The way that Andrew Tate goes about it is not healing anything. It's
Yes.
It's changing it into something volatile, and it might be fuel, but that fuel is going to blow up at some point.
And that's the problem with those type of characters.
Yes. What you're saying about finding Tom Cruise feeling so sorry for him, though, and looking at them as a child, that is something I've thought about Andrew Tate. I do think he's a pathetic piece of shit, but he'll say something sometimes that is so tragic. I remember seeing one quote of his that, he wakes up and every morning he looks in the mirror and tries to cry, but he can't.
Oh, wow.
And that, brings him through the day, which is, he's trying to make it seem like he's this strange, stoic, tough guy thing, but the sentiment behind that is, this man is hurting. He's hurting, and he can't process it, even.
But stoicism isn't about hiding your feelings or keeping them buried. It's about facing up to them. Mm-hmm. If you feel sad, feel sad. Feel it. If you want to cry, cry.
Yeah.
I love to cry. I won't even lie to you. I love watching a movie that will make me cry.
Absolutely.
Because it's affected me in such a way, and you just have to let that emotion get out. And I wish more people would have that ability of just feeling whatever they're feeling and just own up to it. Mm-hmm. Because it's completely fine. Whether it's sadness, anger, jealousy even.
Yeah.
Just admit to it. Just admit to it.
I think crying of happiness is underrated.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure I've cried about something sad or negative. It's been a few years. There's been moments, but that doesn't happen to me as much anymore, which is that's why I should go to therapy. But I cry out of joy and out of happiness so often these days. Watching movies or listening to music or just seeing something that's happened in my life. It's a wonderful feeling to just let that emotion swell so much that it comes out like that.
That has happened to me in the past year, where I've just been seeing something so profoundly beautiful happening in real time. And you just, once you understand the context of what's actually happening and you see it, it really does touch you. And I remember I was in school last year, right? And when the year 6 were leaving, they had basically it's not a graduation, but it's like a leavers assembly.
Yeah.
But they had a guy on piano. Mm-hmm. They were singing, which, by the way, hearing kids sing is like hearing angels sing, bro. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Hearing kids sing is like hearing angels sing. And they were playing like a slideshow of all of them, like throughout the years in the school. And you're seeing like these little kids, and now, I mean, they're still kids, but they're going off to high school now. And you're just seeing it, and you're just like, and the parents are there as well, and it's like, oh my God, this is such a profoundly beautiful moment to just be a part of and witness and see these people go off, and who knows what they're going to do, who they're going to become, and what life happens to them. Some of them, it's probably going to be shit. Some of them, it's going to be some really good shit that they don't even foresee for themselves.
Yeah.
And when that sort of hits me, those moments where I'm just like grateful that I get to witness it, it really is beautiful. Crying for happiness, yeah, that is underrated. That is underrated. But I think there's been the 2 happiest moments in my lives. Was during the tour.
Oh yeah.
That's number 2, and the first one is when Ronaldo came back to Manchester United. That was the happy. I don't think I will ever be that happy ever in my life. I hope I will be.
Yeah.
But that's because it was the surprise of it. I don't think I will be if maybe the first time I have a kid.
I would hope.
No. I
understand what you're saying, though. Yeah.
I'm gonna cry. Like, imagine the first time you hold your own baby. Mm-hmm. Like that shit. And I've heard a lot of people talk about how, and we're going off a tangent, but I'm just gonna make this point. We'll go back.
Sure.
But I've heard a lot of people who've become fathers talk about how when their wives are in labor, they feel completely powerless because there's nothing they can do. Yeah. So if something goes wrong, it's completely out of their control. But then thankfully, when it does happen and you have this baby, it's like one of the most beautiful experiences you can have, which, thinking about it now, I'm like, oh, that would be beautiful. Imagine you've seen yourself from like the small little kid who was playing in the dirt road. Well, I was. But, and then you're holding this little baby that's yours. Fuck me, man. Fuck. But back to Magnolia.
I want to jump off of something you said a moment ago, which is listening to children sing is like listening to angels. And there's a sort of through line in this movie where Donnie in the bar with his romantic rival, they're going back and forth with quotes and things because this other guy is trying to impress Brad with all these philosophical quotes and all this stuff. And at one point he says, "It's dangerous to confuse children with angels," to Donnie.
Ah, yes.
And as Donnie is going on this rant and he's drunk and he's storming out of the bar, I had it written down. On his way out, he basically says, "And no, it is not dangerous to confuse children with angels."
Which I agree.
Yeah. And I think the movie agrees with that, because a little bit later on, as Stanley is going through his sort of big monologue moment, which is everyone's waiting on Stanley to get up and answer the big final question so they can win. And Jimmy Gator's trying to deal with the audience, being like, "What's this kid doing?" And he's like, "Hey, kids, what do you know? Live TV, the indecision of a child, ladies and germs," is what he says. And it cuts to Stanley in front of the set, and behind him is a caduceus, which is the thing on ambulances and medical trucks, which is 2 snakes around the staff with wings.
Oh, yeah.
And so Stanley is framed by these wings right behind him as he goes into his monologue, which is, "This isn't funny, this isn't cute. The way we're looked at, because I'm not a toy, I'm not a doll, we're looked at because if you think we're cute, what, I'm made to feel like a freak if I answer questions, or if I'm smart, or if I have to go to the bathroom? What is that, Jimmy? What is that? I'm asking you that." And then Jimmy just says to him, "I'm not sure, Stanley. It's not dangerous to confuse children with angels."
Oh, God.
Yeah.
It's a great fucking film. it's a great fucking film. I'm just, one of the things, I mean, we've already spoken about the tragedy within a lot of the characters. But Julianne Moore.
Oh my God. Amazing performance.
Amazing. But her thing of, because Big Earl is dying, whom she's married to and is considerably younger than he is, when she admits that, I didn't love him at the beginning, I only wanted the money, but then I fell in love with him. And now I don't want to be alone. Her fear of being alone is so great because she realizes that he is the only person in her life. And she truly loves him now, and he's about to go. And then what's left? Which is that thing of like, what is left when the people in your lives sort of die and leave. Did you watch The Irishman?
Haven't seen it, no.
Okay, so there's a scene towards the end of the film, and it's De Niro in a care home.
Yeah.
But he's by himself, and the FBI is still trying to get him to snitch. And the FBI sort of say to him, like, everyone's gone. You're the only one left. Who you protecting? But it is that thing of like, out of all your friends and family, there's going to be somebody who's going to be alone. And when that time comes, like, what then? Like, what's left then? And I don't... When she tried to kill herself, I understood.
She has almost given Big Earl the morphine that is, a doctor gives it to her and tells her, this will heal his pain, this will help his pain, but there's no coming back from it. He will be gone. She almost gives it to him, but she leaves. She understands that he wants to see Frank, his son, even though before she was saying, no, how dare you, talking to Phil, how dare you try to call him? He doesn't want to see him. He doesn't want Frank to have any of the money. He doesn't want it. She, I think, realizes that she doesn't want to admit that there's anyone but just the two of them, but her and Earl, because when she thinks about the possibility that that's not true, then she's reminded that she married this guy for his money, and all the guilt comes storming back into her. But she makes the decision, no, it's not for me. He needs to be happy in his last moments. I'm gonna leave. She doesn't give him the morphine, she leaves. She says something beautiful to Phil, which I can't exactly remember. I'm not sure I had that quote written down, but it's a beautiful, beautiful little moment between them where she apologizes for slapping him. I do have it somewhere. One sec. She says to Phil, can you tell him I'm sorry for the things that I've done, that I've fucked up? Tell him it's okay. I'm okay. Tell him thank you for taking care of me. All things okay with me. And I know. And then she leaves. And then Phil starts crying. And I don't think he's exactly sure what he's crying at. She leaves. She's almost killed herself already by this point when she's pulling into the garage and just leaves the engine on.
Yeah.
But then she goes back out and mixes some of the drugs that she got from the pharmacist earlier. Can we talk about that scene?
I think we'll get back to it.
Yeah, sure.
But I just want to make the point of...
Please.
One of the few moments of hope in the film, because I did say it's depressing, but it does have a few moments of hope, is when Frank shows up at the hospital for her.
Yeah.
that way she's not alone.
She's not alone.
And to be honest, the people who survive, they're not alone.
No. They find some part of what they're looking for by the end.
There is that connection that they make with another character who sort of stays, and that's why it would be so interesting to, if there was a sequel, what happened next. Like John C. Reilly, which we haven't touched upon.
I'll get to him in a minute. I do want to go over Julianne Moore's scene in the pharmacy real quick. Because, two things. It's an incredible moment of acting. I think she in this movie is one of the best performances of all time. And the monologue is amazing. She's at the pharmacy picking up drugs, and the pharmacist is being sort of patronizing to her, being like, you could have a real party with this. This is a lot of heavy shit. Now, you don't want to mix these things, right?
Did you write down the full quotes from a monologue?
From her monologue, I think I did. They're being patronizing and giving her suspicious looks, and he comes over and gives her the stuff and says, "What exactly do you have wrong with you that you need all this stuff?" And she just loses it. After she has been presented with this impossible decision about what to do with her husband, she loses it and says, motherfucker, you fucking asshole. Who the fuck are you? Who the fuck do you think you are? I come in here, you don't know me, you don't know who I am, what my life is, and you have the balls, the indecency to ask me a question about my life? Fuck you too, to the other guy. Don't you call me lady. I come in here and I give these things to you, you check, you make your phone calls, look suspicious, ask questions. I'm sick. I have sickness all around me, and you ask me my fucking life? What's wrong? Have you seen death in your bed, in your house? Where's your fucking decency? And then I'm asked fucking questions. What's wrong? Suck my dick. That's what's wrong. And you fucking call me lady? Shame on you. Shame on you. Shame on both of you. Amazing monologue. That's the scene that in the first episode of Barry.
Oh, yes.
What's her name is using. I remember watching Barry for the first time and just loving that. It's like, of course she's using this scene, because it's a great scene, but you have to act it well.
Yes, it is. Oh my god. I didn't clock that. Well, I watched Barry first before I watched Magnolia.
Yeah.
But, yeah. I mean, she's a wonderful actress. Gives a great fucking performance. Mm-hmm. But that scene...
I have sickness in my life.
You understand her tragedy in that moment.
Yeah.
Because it's not quite clear whether she's trying to off bigger or if she's trying to off herself. She has this big decision she has to make, and you don't quite know what it is, and it's not revealed to you towards later on. And it's in that moment. By the way, I was thinking, she has perfect teeth.
Oh yeah, she's gorgeous.
Yes, gorgeous, but perfect teeth. Because I was just watching her teeth during that scene. I'm like, fuck, this is a close-up. Your teeth are fucking perfect. If you had someone else who didn't have perfect teeth, would it matter? I don't know. But I'm just staring at these perfect teeth and admiring them whilst enjoying this delicious monologue you've presented to me. Mm. And it's the pain.
Do you know about Anna Nicole Smith?
Is that OJ's wife?
No, that is, that's Nicole Simpson. Yeah, no, not.
Oh shit.
That's, no.
I know the name, I don't know.
Anna Nicole Smith, I can't remember who it was. She was this young, hot model in the 90s, and she sort of got mega famous for marrying this old multi-millionaire, almost billionaire, J. Howard Marshall. She was... How old was she when this happened? She was... 30-something?
Okay.
Born in 1967. They were married in 1994. Not even 30-something, maybe. And he was in his 90s. And he died a year after they got married.
Oh.
So it was very clear what was going on.
Of course.
it was very clear she got a lot of shit for it. You know, everyone was calling her a gold digger, everyone calling her very, very bad, mean things.
But does she love him, though?
Well, we don't entirely know that.
Is she still alive?
No, because she died in 2007 of a drug overdose.
Oh.
Because she made this choice, and she had to live with it, that she had done this thing, and regardless of what it really was, everyone saw it a certain way and treated her like shit for it.
See, this is one of those things where I always say you need to pick your poison. Yeah, you have to be able to live with the decisions you make. Whatever decision you make, you have to be willing to live with it. Otherwise, it will eat you up. It will stay inside and crumble at you. It doesn't matter who you are, how many things you buy to shelter yourself away from it, it will eat you up. And you can see it in Julianne Moore's character that she knew what her intentions were not pure. And I hate using that word pure as if, you know, there's a right and wrong.
Yeah.
She made a decision, you know.
Two adults that, like with Anna Nicole Smith, it's very clear what was going on. They both knew what was going on.
The old guy knows what's going on.
Yeah. But, yeah, there's an element of judgment that people feel about it.
Yeah, I don't want to be, I'm trying something where I don't judge.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to judge anybody in the decisions they make, because I don't know why you're making those decisions. It's on you. But it is that thing of you have to be willing to live with the decisions you make. Otherwise, it will eat you up.
And the book says you may be through with the past, but the past ain't through with you.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Anything more to say about Julianne Moore? Because otherwise I think we should move to John C. Reilly and Claudia a bit.
Okay, John C. Reilly.
John C. Reilly, playing Jim. Also, just kind of like William H. Macy, just the saddest sack.
Which is quite interesting because at the beginning, I don't know if I thought this the first time we saw it, but this time I was thinking, oh, he is prime target for Tom Cruise's character.
Yeah.
Like, he is prime time ready for that type of guy to come into his life and change. But then as the movie went along, I sort of changed my opinion on it. Like, especially the voiceover towards the end.
Yeah.
Where he even says, you know, I'm not perfect, but I try to be a good person. He's trying.
He's trying. That he has these monologues throughout it where he's a cop and he's in his car and he's monologuing to himself that he's trying to make sense of his life. I've found myself doing this sometimes. In moments where something just feels a storm in me, and I'm not entirely sure what my life is. I have monologued to myself almost exactly like this, where you're just trying to find some perspective, trying to affirm yourself and put things into some sort of meaning.
Yeah.
And he keeps doing it throughout. Of I'm a cop and I gotta make the hard calls, and you know, it's not easy, but if I can go through and help a few people, then that's what I can do for the world. And it ends with him as he sees William H. Macy trying to break into Solomon & Solomon's Electronics, and he helps him out, and he drives away, and he helps William H. Macy return the money, and he doesn't arrest him. And he says, sometimes people need a little help. Sometimes people need to forgiven.
Okay, but I have to ask.
Yeah.
Because I thought this when I was watching it. What if William H. Macy's character was black? Would he still help and not arrest?
That's a very good question because I think
what happened earlier.
I think John C. Reilly's character, I mean, he's a shitty cop and he's definitely a bit of a racist. Absolutely. Okay, the movie itself doesn't... It's a lot of white people.
I mean, yeah, but a lot of movies were a lot of white people, so...
That's true.
So, you know, you can't really judge it on that.
That's true. It's maybe not the fullest perspective of all of humanity. But yeah, the scenes toward the beginning when John C. Reilly is investigating what happened in this woman Marcy's apartment. He's a shitty cop. He's being real condescending and racist. It's not. It's the LAPD.
It's when he says when the kid is rapping, he's like, okay, Coolio.
Hey, cool it, Ice-T.
He's like, this is so racist, but it's so funny at the exact same time that I really appreciated it. I was like, if I was in that situation, I'd be like, oh, okay. And of course, those are the rappers he knows.
Yeah.
Because who else is he gonna know? Those are the most mainstream rappers of that time. And because they got the poppiest song on at the time. Of course, that's who he knows.
Meanwhile, he's also completely ignoring what the kid is actually saying.
Yeah.
I have the kid's whole rap written down.
Rap it.
I'm not sure I can do that. And there's a couple words I definitely am not going to say.
Oh, come on. You said the N-word the other day.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
You're rapping along to Kendrick Lamar.
I got the wrong lyric. I got the lyric wrong. I said, guess somebody got to do it again. That's what I said again. I promise you.
Whatever you want to say, Max. I know what I heard. I know what I heard.
I know what I said.
Blame it on AI, but I know what I heard.
Okay.
I know what I heard.
Okay. The rap goes, presents with a double-ass meaning, gifts I bestow with my riff and my flow. But you don't hear me though. Think fast, catch me, yo, because I throw what I know with a resonance for your trouble-ass fiend and weaning yourself off at the back of the shelf. Jackass crackers, body stackers, dick tootin' N-words, masturbating to your triggers, living to get older with a chip on your shoulder, except you think you got a grip because your hip got a holster. Ain't no confessor, so Buster, you better just shut the fuck up. At which point John C. Reilly says, hey, cool it with the mouth. Let's try it again without the vulgarity. Ain't no confessor, so Buster, you better just shut the fuck up. Try to listen and learn. Check that ego. Come off it. I'm the prophet, the professor. I'm gonna teach you about the worm, who eventually turned to catch wreck with the neck of a longtime oppressor. And he's running from the devil, but the dead is always gaining. And if he's worth being hurt, he's worth bringing pain in. When the sunshine don't work, let the good Lord bring the rain in. And this kid is telling John C. Reilly exactly what happened with the crime. That this guy comes around to Marcy's apartment and her son, who people call the worm.
I'm gonna need you to explain it to me.
Sure. It's not super obvious if you don't look at all the details. Apparently there were more scenes filmed involving that, but some of them were cut.
Okay. That makes more sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you see, Marcy...
You see the bodies.
You see the bodies. John C. Reilly shows up at her apartment, and it's a pretty funny scene. He's a terrible cop. He's not doing the right things, and he's escalating the situation before he even gets her name. It's like some really bad shit. But he finds the body in her closet. This woman, Marcy, has a son who goes by the name The Worm. This guy in her closet was someone that came around hooking up with her, dealing drugs. I'm not entirely sure. But he would argue with the kids. And eventually the worm snapped and killed this guy. If he's worth being hurt, then he's worth bringing pain in. And the worm went on the run. And the kid who hangs out around there saw the whole thing. And so knows exactly what happened and is trying to explain this to John C. Reilly, who is just being a condescending racist dick to this kid, and he's just like, okay, cool it, Ice-T, see you later. Gets out of there. Is given the answer on a silver platter. Doesn't solve it all.
He's not a really great cop, is he?
Oh, he's a terrible cop. And he says it later on. He's like, I'm a bad cop. I lost my gun.
Yeah. Which is, I thought it was a big deal. Like in real life.
Losing a gun, yes.
Yeah.
Huge deal.
Yeah, like that's a massive deal.
He's going on suspension after that for a little bit.
But yeah, he grew on me. Even though with that he grew on me, and maybe it was him helping William H. Macy towards the end, but him going back to Claudia.
What's her actress's name? I can't remember.
What is her name? Because she had the toughest job.
Hardest role in the movie.
Hardest role. She's high the whole fucking time.
Coked out of her mind. Amazing performance, though. Melora Walters, she was in Magnolia, she was in Boogie Nights, Dead Poet Society. She's done stuff. She still does stuff. She's just never broken huge.
I'm happy for her that she's still working, because it's a great fucking performance. And it's a hard job to do, because not only is she high, but she keeps getting high.
Yeah.
Because you see her all the time,
so many lines.
So many lines. But her thing of wanting the intimacy, but not allowing herself to accept it.
Yeah, Claudia and Jim, their date scene. I did that scene with a friend of ours for one of our performance showcases. So I've thought about that scene specifically a lot, and these two characters. Claudia, we see her at the beginning montages of the movie. She's just getting high out of her mind. She's hooking up with these older dudes, just getting taken advantage of.
Daddy issues, man.
Yep, serious daddy issues. And her dad, Jimmy Gator, comes to try to talk to her, and she just loses it, and she flips her shit and tries to yell him out of the apartment. Understandably, as we learn later on. She's dealing with this impossible thing of she was molested as a kid, and no one believes her, and she might not even believe herself, but she is holding on to all this pain and is spinning out of control constantly. And when John C. Reilly comes into her life, when Jim, the cop, shows up at her door being condescending, trying to talk to her about lowering her music so she doesn't get hearing damage, and then starts to hit on her on duty. Terrible cop.
Awful. But I respect it. He saw an opportunity and he took it.
Because he's also lonely and doesn't really know what to do. At the beginning of the movie, he's sent in a tape to one of those shows that's like you can send in a tape submission and be like, "Hey, I'm a single guy." It's Tinder back in the day. He's sent in this tape that's like, I'm a good guy. I'll try to treat you right. I like walking, hiking, and all these things. And he chuckles at his own tape, and it's really kind of cute. But again, he's just kind of a bit of a sad sack. Everything always goes wrong for him. And so these two meet, and
the kitchen scene, by the way.
Yes, the one shot in the kitchen where
that was brilliant.
Yeah.
Because it's just the two of them in the kitchen, and it's a tight shot because it's a tight space.
Small kitchen.
But you see the interaction between the two, which I really loved. And she's really just trying to get rid of him.
She's on edge. She's hiding coke in the other room.
And he's finding ways to stay. Mm-hmm. Like, oh yeah, it's cold outside. Yeah, be nice to have a cup of coffee.
Like, do you want a cup of coffee? Oh yeah, sure,
that'd be good.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, even though it's been there for days.
Yeah.
And when you first drinks it, his reaction is that small reaction was like, oh.
Yep. And when she leaves the room, he ducks back into the kitchen and tosses it into the sink. But then he's also saying like, let me finish talking to you because I don't want to enjoy our coffee and still have to talk shop and all this.
That's you see one of the things, especially recently, that I've been thinking about is the extent that guys will go to get women's attention. For example, and I noticed it the past few days. Well, I've always noticed it, but it was just something I've been thinking about the past few days. So in the gym, specifically these two women who work out, and you see them, and obviously but there's this one woman who works out, and it's around the same time that I do. But there's this one guy who's like, whenever he sees her go over to a station, he's like helping her put the weights on. She didn't even ask for help.
Yeah.
He's just walked over and been like, yeah, I can help you. Yeah, I can take it off. Yeah, put it back on. Or,
Which, presumably, she can lift those weights.
They're not heavy weights. She's in better shape than most of the guys in the gym. Like, she can handle herself. But I chuckled to myself because you can even see it on her face that she's like, okay. And I felt so sorry. I mean, I hope Top G doesn't hate me for this. But I felt so sorry for the women because there was another woman, and this wasn't that serious. But we'd been waiting for the bus for like a good half an hour, and the guy was there first, and the girl was there last. But he let the girl get in first, which obviously you're trying to be a gentleman. But
chivalry and all that.
I started to think, what if she wasn't attractive? Would you still let her on first? The extent that guys will go to just to, be charming and stuff like that. And you see it in John C. Reilly's character of like, he's trying to be like, I'm a cop, I'm a man of the law.
Trying to be cool.
Which he is not.
No.
And what was the first thing you saw John C. Reilly in?
Oh man, I mean, it honestly might have been Guardians of the Galaxy.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
I still haven't seen most of his like Will Ferrell comedy stuff. Haven't seen Step Brothers or what?
I'd seen him in Step Brothers.
Yeah.
I think that was the first thing. But the one that really sort of knocked him into my consciousness was Chicago.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I have seen that.
Because he plays Amos.
Yeah.
And he's fucking great.
He's always good.
But it's this thing where in this film he plays like this pathetic loser who's trying. It's always that thing, right? Of like, there's a mask that everyone's putting on, and what's behind the mask that gets revealed, which is always interesting, and how PTA sort of PTA. As if I know him. PTA.
Paul.
Polly.
Yeah.
E. What does the T stand for?
Thomas.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. What's the other guy called?
Well, there's Paul Thomas, there's Wes, and then there's Paul W.S. And he's just throwing a wrench in all the works. He really spoils the whole lot.
Yeah, I'm going to get everyone's fan bases with that one. Yeah. But he constructed all these characters in such a way where you could see their mask, and you could see what's behind the mask. And what was behind the mask is, I always sort of look at it with people, whenever you meet someone new, where you can clearly see what they're presenting to you, and I'm more interested in what they're not showing me.
Yeah.
Because that's where you really get into what type of person that person is. And that's where you really get to see the humanity of people, I feel. Because I don't know how you feel, but I sort of feel as if, as people get older, and maybe this is more so British people. Americans are slightly different. Or maybe Americans, they're louder, but British people sort of put on this mask of trying to keep things civil.
Yeah.
Whereas behind the back, you can clearly tell that they're kind of pissed off. But even their pissed off isn't like American pissed off. They're not they're not storming capitals and shit like that.
Yeah.
They're more like, we'll change our images on social media and shit like that to show that we're pissed off. But the mask and what's behind the mask with all the characters is always fascinating, except Big Girl. And Philip Baker Hall. The mask comes off.
Yeah.
Because he's facing his own mortality. It's done. Everything is sort of done. Maybe that's why I like the idea of going back to a Western. If civilization was just back to the ground of we're just old fucking shit, and the mask comes off, and we show our true colors to one another.
I'm not sure that's the best.
Maybe not now, because a lot of people wouldn't survive.
Yeah, no.
I feel like civilization is like a poodle, a cute little dog.
Yeah.
If you put that in the fucking forest or somewhere, it's gonna die.
Yeah,
it's gonna get eaten by the wolves.
It doesn't stand a chance.
But if everyone was a wolf, yeah, fantastic. But no, there's a lot of poodles around, just roaming around.
What you're saying about masks and things, and how it deals with Jim and Claudia, their date scene later on, where after he's sort of imposed himself in her life, and then he leaves, and he's given this whole thing about, like, there was a call of a disturbance. Did an argument happen here? Did your boyfriend or someone come by? And she's like, he's not my boyfriend, he's not going to come back. And he's like, well, okay, because I don't want to have to come back here on a 187. I've seen some nasty things. And as he's about to leave, she's like, yeah, hopefully he won't have to come back on a 187. He's like, no, don't joke about that. Don't joke about that. That's very dark. And apparently a 187 is the police code for murder.
Oh, shit.
So it's accurate stuff. But anyway, he leaves, he goes out the door, and then something calls to him, and something's calling to her on the other side.
Yeah.
And he goes back and knocks on the door, and she's standing right there ready for him.
Yeah.
And they agree to go on this date. And then they get to this date at the restaurant.
Which, by the way, the first thing that she says of, like, let's just cut through the bullshit.
Yep.
Just reveal your bullshit to me and I'll reveal mine. And that's, oh God, I was like, yes, why isn't there more of this? Stop with the niceties.
Yeah.
Let's just reveal our shit on the table right now.
I genuinely think this is one of the best scenes ever written. I loved performing it with this friend of ours. It's so good. These characters are so sad and so desperate, but so just you want to hold them and tell them that it's going to be okay. First shot of the scene opens on Claudia saying, did you ever go out with someone and just lie? Question after question. Maybe you're trying to make yourself look cool or better than you are or whatever. Smarter, cooler. You just not really lie, but you don't say everything. And he responds, well, that's a natural thing. Two people go on a date or something. They want to impress people. The other person, if they're scared, they might say something that might make the other person not like them. And so they go back and forth a bit. And then she says, how about let's make a deal to people afraid to say things, no guts to say the things that are real or something. And he says, yeah. And she says, to not do that that maybe we've done before. I'll tell you everything and you tell me everything, and maybe we can get through all the piss and shit and lies that kill other people. And then he's taken aback by the vulgarity. He's like, well, piss and shit, huh? But they make this agreement to just cut through it all and be themselves with each other and bear it all. And then he confesses, as she's going on about, I'm stupid and I'm crazy and you seem so together and you're a police officer and you're straight and put together and you don't have any problems. And then he says, I lost my gun today. She says, what? And he says, I lost my gun today when I left you and I'm the laughing stock of a lot of people. And I wanted to tell you, I wanted you to know it's on my mind and it makes me feel like a fool and I feel like a fool. But you asked that we should say things, what we're thinking, and not lie. Well, I can tell you this, that I lost my gun today, and I'm not a good cop, and I'm looked down at, and I know that, and I'm scared that once you find out, you might not like me. And she says, that was great. What you just said is great.
Because it is, man.
It's just the truth, and these two scared, lonely people are giving themselves to each other. But then she goes to the bathroom to do another line of coke. She comes back. And she's fraying, and she's saying, no, this isn't, you don't know how fucking stupid I am, you don't know how crazy I am, I've got troubles, okay? And he says, I'll take it all at face value, I'll be a good listener to you. And she says, I started this, didn't I? Fuck. And he says, whatever it is, just say it, you'll see. And she says, you want to kiss me, Jim? He says, yes, I do. And then they kiss. And then right afterwards, she runs away. She runs away because she can't.
It's too much. The intimacy is too much for her. Which, oh God, I can imagine what it will be like if God, I can't believe I'm even saying this. But to get molested by your own father, the damage that does to you, how you sort of view other men, and the repercussions of not only is nobody dealing with it, your dad isn't sort of addressing it, you probably haven't had the support you require, so you just shelter yourself in a world where you don't want to experience reality because the pain is too much. So you just be in this state continuously of just being high all the time. And you put yourself in situations where you're being used and abused. Great fucking performance.
Yeah.
Great fucking performance.
The whole time she's just daring him to leave. And he doesn't. And by the end of the movie, he walks back into a room, and you can barely hear his dialogue because Save Me by Amy Mann is playing. But he's basically saying, what you said earlier, it stuck with me, and I'm not going to give up on you. You're too good to give up on. You're not stupid. Let's be together. And the movie ends with her not even looking at him, but just hearing him and looking right at the camera and smiling. And it's beautiful. I think in some ways she's the main character of the movie. It's an ensemble piece, but it ends on her. So much of it sort of revolves around that turmoil. And she's got in her apartment a painting with a little line in it, and it's one of the big montages as everything's going around. And the camera just zooms in on the little corner of this painting with a little snippet of text from some magazine or something pasted onto it that says, "But it did happen." It's as the frogs are falling from the sky.
Yeah.
And it's just before Stanley is looking out the window saying, "This is something that happens. This is something that happens." But it did happen. Which is the statement of the movie on a whole. But then for Claudia, it's her reminding herself that even though no one knows or remembers or acknowledges this terrible thing that happened to me, I know it happened. But it did happen.
Yeah, I just want to give her a hug.
Yeah.
The sad thing is, there's a lot of situations around her in the world, just like Claudia. There's many Claudias.
Yeah. Yep.
And you just... I don't know if watching a film like this sort of helps, but I like to think when you see films touch upon these themes of loneliness, isolation, regret, it sort of touches people to think about their own lives. Because that's sort of like the thing, does art imitate life, or does life imitate art?
There's the scene when Phil's on the phone with Frank's customer service department, and he says, "Listen, I know this is crazy and it might sound ridiculous, like the scene in the movie where the guy's trying to get a hold of the long-lost son, you know? But this is that scene. This is that scene. And I think they have those scenes in movies because they're true, you know, because they really happen. And you gotta believe me, this is really happening. This is the scene in the movie where you help me out." And then it ends with... towards the end, there's Ricky Jay's narration that comes back saying, and after the frogs and everything, and Ricky Jay's narrating saying, "There is the account of the hanging men and the scuba diver and the suicide," as Earl has died and the hospice workers are picking him up. And Ricky Jay says, "There are stories of coincidence and chance and intersections and strange things told, and which is which and who only knows." One of the dogs is dead on the floor, we see, because pills were spilled and the dogs ate them up, and it's really just like, oh, why did that have to happen? And Ricky Jay goes on, "And generally we say, well, if this was in a movie, I wouldn't believe it. Someone so-and-so meets someone else's so-and-so, and so on and so on." And it is, in the humble opinion of this narrator, that strange things happen all the time, and so it goes, and so it goes. And the book says we may be through with the past, but the past ain't through with us.
One last question.
Yeah.
What can we forgive?
That's John C. Reilly talking at the end. He says that almost exactly.
Yeah.
What can we forgive? There's so many terrible people in this movie. Jimmy Gator's a piece of shit. Big Earl, the bad man. Frank Mackey is just awful. But it's so easy to forget that everyone is a person. Andrew Tate is a person.
Exactly.
I'm not sure I can forgive him for everything, but forgiveness starts with understanding. And you have to be able to at least understand someone.
I agree. And it's the old adage of forgive and forget. And for the longest time, I could never do either. But I could forgive. Because once you understand the full context of the situation, you understand where the other person's coming from, you go, oh, I may not agree with the choices you made, but I understand them. I don't like them, but I understand why you made that decision. Forgetting is probably the harder part, because you can never quite forget, especially if... So let's take Claudia, for example, right? She could forgive her dad, Jimmy. But she'll never forget, especially if he keeps saying,
He's forgotten.
Remember.
That's the thing, he's forgotten. He can't forgive, but doesn't have a choice to forget.
That's the thing, right? Has he forgotten because it's insignificant to him, or has he forgotten because he was a drunk and he did some shit when he was drunk and it happened so many times that he doesn't even know?
I think it's closer to that. I'm not sure. I think at the very least he was a drunk womanizer and really drunk out of his mind so much of the time that he genuinely doesn't remember. I don't think he's lying at the end even when Rose says to him, you do know what you did, you just can't say it. I think he really is at the end of it. I don't remember. If I said I did, would you stay? No. There it is.
Yeah, I hope when I'm facing my own mortality, I won't have so many regrets.
Well,
that's what I hope. Who knows what the simulation will entail?
Don't let anyone tell you not to regret anything. Regrets, I think regrets are how we know that we've grown.
Interesting. Okay.
Regrets and guilt. There's healthy ways to deal with them, but I don't think we can ignore them because I think...
Yeah, I don't think you can ignore them.
No.
You may be through with the past, but the past isn't through with you. Damn. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll end it there.
Before we do, I do want to just briefly touch on the soundtrack. Amy Mann.
Oh my god.
Amy Mann's amazing soundtrack. Musical score by John Bryan, and little bits of it apparently by Fiona Apple.
I love her music. She's not going on my playlist.
No?
It's too sad. It's too sad.
Yeah, she's real heavy. Her album Lost in Space is one of my favorites. And it's not the saddest. It's got some heavy-hitting stuff on there. But this album, Magnolia, as a soundtrack, which is an album of hers by itself, she wrote a lot of the score for the movie. Paul Thomas Anderson was listening to a lot of Amy Mann when he was writing the script, and they have a symbiotic relationship where some of the songs have direct quotes from the script, or maybe the script is quoting from the song, I'm not entirely sure which. When Claudia and Jim are on their date, Claudia, after she kisses him, she immediately says, "Now that I've met you, would you object to never seeing each other again?" Which is how one of Amy Mann's songs for the soundtrack starts. One of the songs is Driving Sideways, which is the ambulance flying through the air.
The detail. My God.
Mm-hmm. Most importantly, because we've been talking for almost 2 hours now, but...
Wow.
Yeah. We're hitting an hour 45. With the soundtrack, I think it's beautiful. When Wise Up starts playing, which is, God, one of the most heartbreaking songs ever written, it starts playing and then everyone starts singing along to it. How did you feel about that this time around, and how did you feel about that the first time you saw it? Because that's like a big... I think this movie plays it off so well, but that's a big ask for the average audience to suddenly be like... And then the characters in the movie are suddenly singing. It's not a musical, but it's like it's a musical all of a sudden.
I didn't mind it. Yeah. What did I think the first time? Yeah, I didn't mind it either the first time. I think because the soundtrack was so infused in the film, it just felt right. And because the soundtrack is sort of referencing what is happening in the film, it's different if it was a different song out of nowhere that has nothing to do with the film I'm watching. Whereas what the characters were going through with the music, that the music is just it's like that saying, like, when you can't find the words, you sing. Something like that. But yeah, it's listening to it, like, throughout the whole film, especially at certain moments when it hits, at the beginning and at the end. At the beginning, it lets you know this is that type of movie.
When one starts playing, it's cutting from Ricky Jay's narration of the three stories, and then just silence. And as the chord blooms, as it opens up to the rest of the song, the Magnolia blooms on screen. And it's like, here we fucking go.
It's a journey. Oh, my mic came on.
You're good.
I highly recommend it. For some people, I'll just say be prepared. It might touch too close to home.
Sure.
But it is probably one of the best movies I've made. Not probably. It is.
It's one of the best.
It is one of the best. Hands down. It's so rich in the detail, as you can clearly tell from Max recapping everything.
I could barely even scratch it. I could go on and on.
No. Yeah, but the thing is, you've watched it more times than me.
Yeah.
And you still find in more detail.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a great thing, because when I watch it again, I'm going to see more stuff. Of which, this time when I watched it again, I did see more stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is, it's not a film that I can always rewatch.
You can't just throw this one on.
No.
Aside from the fact that it's 3 hours long, it's also just heavy. And
yeah, it's just heavy. It's a time commitment. But highly recommend if you haven't seen it. If you have seen it, wow.
Watch it again. Get yourself in a good place and watch it again.
Yeah. And let it remind you that it's all okay. At the end of the day, no matter what's going on in the world, and the world's kind of shitty right now. Maybe it's always been shitty, but it seems like it's extra shitty right now. But it's okay. Be with the people you love. Accept your regrets, but also don't try to live with regrets. If you got shit, just deal with it. Own up to it. Like Claudia said, let's just put our shit on the table. Just put it on the table. But yeah, thank you for listening. If you did listen. If you haven't, oh, well, you have.
If you haven't, then fuck you. You don't know what we're saying about you.
No, thank you. Hopefully we'll be back.
Yeah.
And we'll name this podcast later.